Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. It is Wednesday, May 25th, 2016. I'm Leanne McAdoo.
And I'm Rob Doon. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight.
Tonight, the Dreamer riots get even more violent as protesters create what the police called a gauntlet of hate, burning American flags, flying Mexican flags, screaming insults in English and Spanish, and hurling rocks as they physically attack the police, Trump attendees, and even a man in a wheelchair. But they're not just angry at Trump. More than 1,300 student protesters are demanding colleges get rid of any grades below a C. Welcome to Lake Wobegon, where all the kids pretend they're above average. And a DMV scam that has cost 1.3 million drivers in Texas alone their license and $1.8 billion in fines. Most Texans don't know this is happening. Is it happening in your state? Eddie Craig breaks it down with Darren McBreen. All that and more on tonight's INFOWARS Nightly News.
Well, while everyone is watching the mayhem that is rolling out this election cycle, Rand Paul is still working diligently on some other very important issues. So keep a lookout on that. He's still pushing to have the 28 redacted pages of the 9/11 investigation report released. He wants that to be released within the next 60 days of the National Defense Authorization Act being signed into law later this year. So look out for that. He has long been the spearhead behind this pushing to get these pages out. But he is also introducing an amendment to the upcoming defense bill, saying that the current administration and other presidents to come are totally abusing the authorization for military use of force because it was granted back in 2001 for Afghanistan and Iraq after 9/11. But now they're just
we're just going to keep using it for whatever we feel
exactly
like.
Rolling out. And he says the Constitution explicitly gives the power to declare war to Congress. And the never-ending series of wars is not being wound down by Obama. And we can only imagine what will happen if someone like Hillary Clinton gets in. So definitely keep an eye on what Rand Paul is up to.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the Saudi government's now come out and is starting to place blame on the American government, saying, well, you need to look at your own government before you come after us, because we can't be, if we're going to get sued, then. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. We've talked about it plenty of times before. I don't know how you have 3 buildings fall when only 2 were hit by airplanes.
And then you see the metal rods there that were supposedly supporting the building are
cut at an angle.
Cut at an angle. So obviously, if we find out the Saudi connection, we're going to find out why Bush flew the bin Laden family out the next day on private jets, even though, I mean, it's going to be.
Go listen to Willie Rodriguez's testimony. He heard it and felt an explosion before the plane even hit. How does that happen?
Yeah. Well, it'll be very interesting. So now let's move on to another vast conspiracy. It's always evident when you see all of the establishment media parroting the exact same thing. So obviously they got the orders from down on high that it's finally time to call out Donald Trump for his visit to
as a conspiracy theorist.
Oh my goodness, he and Roger Stone have been visiting sites. And so now we've got the New York Times. There's Media Matters, Washington Post, CNN,
MSNBC,
talking about how Donald Trump is the conspiracy candidate, and now right-wing media is getting its wish that these type of topics are finally now pushed out in the mainstream. Of course, now that he's coming out talking about things that the media refuses to talk about, for instance, Bill Clinton's sex scandals.
How about the 25+ trips he took on the pedophiles jet? You know. Never mention that. You got to mention of it in Fox News, but nothing else. You know, and those questions won't be asked to Hillary. What do you think of this? No, we're going to sit there and focus on Trump and what he's saying, who he might have dated in the past. I mean, Trump's not being accused of infidelity.
Right.
You know, they accuse him of making a comment to a woman in a bikini.
Oh, who does that?
Terrible.
What an awful guy.
But they really have come out. I'm working on a video with Alex that I'm going to release as soon as it's done, put it out on YouTube, where he's exposing that the media is in panic mode right now because they see the writing on the wall. They see what Trump's doing. They don't like what he's talking about. They don't like who he's talking about. So their only defense at this point is to try to poke holes in what Trump's done. Oh, he wasn't the perfect businessman. He, doesn't like Rosie O'Donnell. He doesn't like Mexicans. He doesn't like Middle Easterners. Just anything they could come up with. And those talking points that are talked about in the mainstream media have parroted down to all their little groundlings who are running around trolling
because
these
they're
Trump
all owned
events.
by the same people.
Exactly.
And so they get their talking orders and they all put out the same. So you can read all the different articles and platforms, and it all says the exact same thing. And then so, of course, Donald Trump points out, you know, why do we have all these cameras and reporters following me when if you really want to see a scandal, go look at the Clinton Foundation. Like, look at that there. And we'll get to that coming up later with this email server. I mean, my goodness, smoking gun, it is done with her. The fact that they've finally put this report out. But, you know, he's absolutely right with the Clinton Foundation. If you want a real scandal, why doesn't the Washington Post have 20 plus reporters on that?
Because that's what they're not interested in. They're, you know, Hillary Clinton is a mouthpiece and a hack for the establishment. So they want to place her, anoint her as the next president. And they are just losing their SH, if you know what I'm talking about, over Trump, because he has just defied every expectation at this point, especially mine. I didn't think he would even get this far. I figured they would steal the nomination from him. And there's still a chance to do that. They just gave, I think, 40 of the 41 delegates from Washington to Ted Cruz, even before the primary happened. So he won the primary, but he doesn't get any of the delegates. So they're still working on that from the back room. So we may see some fireworks shed at the RNC this summer.
Well, we're definitely going to be seeing them at the DNC. Everyone has been kind of blaming all of the violent protesters on Trump and his supporters, but we know where it's really coming from.
If you go to any Trump rally, just hang out outside and you can see the talking point mass brainwashing going on with the public. These people don't have original thoughts in their head. They refuse to read any of his policies, because I have asked them, would you read any of his policies? No, I don't have time for that. Oh, but you got time to write down all the talking points and make sure you hit them all.
Come here and argue with me. If you have the talking points, then you're good.
Right.
Just don't get into any actual real debates with anyone.
And if you do get into a conversation that lasts more than 2 questions, run the other direction.
Yeah, or just yell and blow your whistle, kind of like the protesters we're about to talk about. Now, we're going to have some video coming up in the next segment. Jakari Jackson's on the ground there, Michael Zimmerman. They actually got rocks thrown at them, tear gassed once again. So these are violent protesters breaking through the barricade there at the Trump rally. And Bernie
said it could be messy. He came out and said, hey, this could be messy.
Yeah, because right now they have their little minions going after Trump, and none of them have been going after Hillary Clinton, who is Bernie Sanders' actual competition at the moment. So they kind of lost their chance where, you know, maybe they could have been taking out Hillary Clinton, but really they would have just turned more people to voting for her, which is what's happening. Then more people are now voting for Trump. So last night, Milo Yiannopoulos, he is a really controversial writer for Breitbart. He's hilarious. He's like an excellent troll level.
Masterful triggerer. He's
like a master triggerer. And so he's on this tour where he's going around to universities, really talking about the First Amendment and why it needs to be protected, and just triggering social justice warriors left and right. It is hilarious. So last night, he went to DePaul University, and once again, we are seeing how these schools are just backing down in the face of these violent protesters. And they're saying, oh, well, we need to protect their First Amendment right. So
they're enabling the everyone gets a medal society, which is these young kids that they've grown up. They've never lost anything because everybody gets a medal for everything. There's no losers. Everybody's a winner.
We get everything done by yelling and pounding our fists.
Exactly.
And so the schools are just encouraging this type of action. And so last night, you can see some of the things that were done there. We'll play the video.
Yeah, they blew whistles. They grabbed the microphone out of the interviewer's hand. They threatened to punch Milo in the face. They screamed, "Feel the burn." They basically took over the stage, and Milo just kept his composure and stood there. And it's really interesting the way, these kids think this is a normal way to act. They think this is okay.
This is them exercising their First Amendment right to just forcibly shut down an event where these Republican students on campus paid a lot of money. They had to do a lot of activism for months to try and raise the funds to get the speakers there. And so this auditorium is filled with people who wanted to hear him speak. And so then you have this other group, they come, they rush the stage, threatening physical violence. Look she's in his face. That right there is threatening. And the other big issue is that the school, DePaul, they violated their contract just a few days beforehand, and they said, you know what, you need to get more security for this, and you have to pay for it. And Breitbart actually paid an extra $1,000 to get some more additional security. And then when the security was there, they were told to stand down and to allow the protesters to do their thing. And
because we don't want to hurt the precious snowflakes.
Yeah, we don't want to hurt the snowflakes. We don't want anything to happen. And meanwhile, they're threatening to punch him in the face and all of this stuff. And so now you can see that even the left establishment, this is coming out of HuffPost, right? The Huffington Post, they are even saying, wow, look at the monsters that we have created. We've been enabling these people. And this is someone saying out of the HuffPo, like, someone please introduce me to a good constitutional law professor because I'm really confused about the First Amendment. Until yesterday, I never realized that forcibly shutting down a private speaking event was considered free speech. I was also surprised to learn that assaulting a police officer is now a form of protest. And it certainly never occurred to me that making violent threats toward a speaker was a constitutionally protected right. So in fact, I was pretty confident all of these things were highly illegal, but yet that's exactly what radical protesters did yesterday.
And the crowd, had enough. And after an extended period of time, they started chanting at the security, do your job, do your job. Hey, stop. We're having an event, a private event for our club or whatever they had over there. They invited Milo to come speak.
Right.
I used to go watch these people speak in college, different people would come in. And I never saw people act this way. You might have people protesting out front or right in front of the door or handing out leaflets or something or trying to engage people, but never to this degree. And the enabling
where they're actually threatening violence. We have Paul Joseph Watson article up where now there's even more kill Trump threats.
And that's okay.
Flooding Twitter before the Anaheim, the Anaheim event that's set to take place, where we've got guys on the ground there as well, and they're expecting riots. I mean, we saw what happened last night in Albuquerque, just insane mayhem, madness. And these are people, they're just exercising their First Amendment right. And that's something that people always argue on the other side. They say, well, it doesn't protect violent or hateful speech. And yet that's exactly what's happening here. And they're being protected. They're threatening to punch someone in the face and making violent threats, and yet they're protected. So it only protects
the speech that they feel is okay. If it's not okay speech, then we can't have it. It's hurtful. It scares me. And they base it goes back to their feelings. Has no basis in logic. And if you watch, there's a video, I think it's called Degenerate Protesters Curse at People Going into the Trump Rally. This is yesterday. And as these people are walking through, they have to walk through a gauntlet of people screaming and cursing at them. When the females walk by, they're like, you're a woman, how could you? I mean, these people are just such scum. Where do they come from?
Right.
And why do they think it's their place to go out and try to change or scream at people? It's the screaming at people.
Where are they getting
constantly.
This little violent fascist Red Guard training? And that's what's so frightening.
Yeah.
And if I was a parent, I would rip my kids out of these universities because they're not being well prepared to get a job when they get out of school. And all of these future employers are going to have to be dealing with this type of babyish behavior. For instance, check this out. Students are wanting to abolish midterms and any grades below a C.
That's right.
Because they said that they've been too busy with their political activism. They've been out too busy protesting that they haven't been able to study well. And so now they're making these demands saying, we demand you abolish the midterm and allow us to have a conversation with our teacher instead. I mean, what the hell? Like, this is what happens now. This is people can just come and make these demands and just completely restructure society and how it works. And these schools are encouraging it. The deans are like, you're right, I quit, I stepped down.
Yeah, they're totally kowtowing to these people. And it really is the mentality of everybody wins all the time. We can't have any losers. And it's a socialist mentality, really. This is what this is. And they've started this in grade school and in elementary school, and it just builds on up. And the kids expect it because this is how they've been treated their entire lives. And when you treat people like this,
spanked, everyone's a winner.
Yeah, exactly. And
and the thing totally too is like, imagine now they're doing this fight for 15. And so they're even now threatening to have these type of really exacerbated protests for this as well. But one robot costs $35,000, right? Yeah, that's kind of expensive. But to pay one person $15 an hour, 40 hours a week would cover the cost of that robot, who could replace every employee at McDonald's.
They're doing it at Wendy's
they're just they're like driving everything down into society. So
it's all right. This is what they want. This is what they want. This is a
lost generation.
This is what they want right here. They don't really work for a living. They want to scream and rant and think that's going to get their way. And